Okay.
Wait 1 second.
Ask Med to help.
Okay, there should be sound. Right.
Right. Let me try again.
Wait 1 second.
Ask Med to help. You can hear me now, right?
Yeah, it should be good now.
All right, we are testing and trying this the second time. Can everyone hear me? Sarah, do you think we're on?
Yeah, the comment says that everything's good.
Classic. Time we're trying to go live and we're having some issues with sound, but this is quite normal for us to experience in real time. So good morning, everyone, once again. Hopefully now you will hear me loud and clear. Testing and trying this the second time. Can everyone hear me? Sorry, I can hear myself. Sorry.
Yeah, the comment says that. Oh, sorry. This is.
We're trying to go live. Sound, but this is quite normal for us to experience in real time. So
yeah, wait.
Once again. Hopefully now you will hear me loud and clear. Testing and trying this the second time.
This is going.
Sorry, I can hear myself. Sorry.
Yeah, the comments. Now?
Perfect. So, good morning, everyone, again. This is the fourth time, hopefully the last time we will be starting this broadcast. But we are so excited you're joining us from so many different cities and countries across the globe. So we are live here 9:34 in London, BST. And we have got a fantastic 9-day event that we're kicking off today. It's a Youth versus COVID Global Hackathon. So we have 60 countries represented across the world, 60 cities across the world from over 30 countries. And we are really excited to have young people aged 12 to 24 exploring data science and artificial intelligence, some of them for the first time. And they're being aided by the mentors from across the most incredible companies here in London, from Quantum Black, Tesco's Labs, Tech Nation, Visa, you name it. They will all be in Discord channel, helping young people design the products to tackle some of the most incredible challenges that we're all grappling with. So wherever you may be today, we hope you are well and safe. And we really hope that you will join us and enjoy what will be broadcast today live here on YouTube. So we will be broadcasting for the next 9 days, today and tomorrow, starting from 9:30 until 6, with some breaks in between to allow young people to work together. But nonetheless, from Monday to Friday, we will be back every evening at 5 o'clock BST to inspire you with some of the incredible talks in ethics, in technology, and inspiring content in general. So thank you so much for tuning in and for joining us. And I really hope you will enjoy what will be happening today, tomorrow, and over the next 9 days. We have the most incredible lineup of speakers joining us. And without further ado, I wanted to introduce you to our very first speaker. So Team Clement Jones is already on the call with us. So if we could have Team join us, Team, I'm going to unmute you. Please come and welcome everyone and say hi. So do unmute yourself.
Hi there, Elena. How are you?
I am great. We've been up since 6:30 trying to test everything and getting everything ready. So I think there is a lot of love and a lot of buzz around to support.
Fantastic.
And we're so happy to have you, team. So if you remember, we've got Sara on the call, and Sara and I have given evidence a couple of times in Parliament. In fact, 2 years ago, Sara and I have started Teens and AI at the United Nations AI for Good Global Summit. So it's almost an anniversary because this was really happening exactly 2 years ago. So I remember that moment when Sara and I had, 40 minutes before we had to go and speak at the UN. And we decided there and then, okay, Sara, let's launch something amazing. What could it be? And Sara, if you remember, that was quite a moment before we sort of went on stage and said, okay, I think it's time for teenagers and young people to explore artificial intelligence. And 2 years on, we are here, not probably in the exactly best circumstances, but we are where we are. And thank you so much for joining us.
Well, a pleasure. And I remember when you came and spoke to us at the all-party AI group last July, and one of the things we talked about was this mixture of, if you like, technology skills, but also creative skills as well. So it's all about, the mixture between science, technology, engineering, all those STEM type skills, but also the sort of critical thinking, creativity, interpersonal skills that we're going to need. And that's what I think is going to be so interesting to see how that all comes together in terms of the topics that you've chosen. I think that was a very important discussion that we had, and you really, helped us develop our thinking in terms of the way forward, because it's not just purely about the technology.
Exactly. So this is going to be a 9-day journey where we will get young people to collaborate together. So in the virtual world, it's not the same as doing a hackathon offline. It's a completely different type project. This is the first one we're running. So what would be your advice to the young people who are taking their first steps and they have never been part of an event like this? What would you say to them?
Well, you see, what is so interesting is it's not purely about solving the problem in the quickest possible way. The context in which you operate is very important. Many people have read a recent article by Yuval Noah Harari about, in a sense, what the outcome of COVID-19 for society might be. And I'm particularly interested in how we use data and technology in the middle of our COVID crisis to solve many of the problems around it. And he says at the end of COVID-19, we could either end up with a surveillance state or we could end up with citizen empowerment. And I find it very interesting that one of the topics you've chosen is exactly empowerment, because I do think that having technology in our hands that in a sense democratizes how we can do things and solve questions for ourselves is going to be very important. So I would say is, of course, all the judging factors are very, very important, but I think the ethical design of what we do to get those solutions, I think is going to be very important. So there's going to be, things like transparency, data privacy, freedom from bias, diversity and inclusion. And I must say, I think the gender balance that you've achieved with the hackathon is already fantastic. And then accountability is very important as well. So I would say, yes, focus on the outcomes, but also make sure that the ethically aligned design is there when you're putting it all together.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, team. That was brilliant. And we are going to be touching upon ethics. In fact, our participants will be really spoiled because we will have an ethics talk every day. And they will be Virginia Dignam, we will have Gretchen Green, we will have the most incredible speakers from Women Leading in AI, and lots of fantastic speakers coming to talk to us about facial recognition, about algorithmic biases, about data privacy, and so many issues that we have got to discuss and be mindful of when we develop technologies. So
that's brilliant.
At the very core of it is human-centered design as well. So we're not just going to play with technologies. It's very important that we emphasize the needs, the user needs. So we will be putting human-centered design at the very core of product development. So whatever we design, it has to be for real people, for people who are experiencing real problems. And so thank you so much for emphasizing all of this. So I'm not going to let you stay on this call for long, because I would like to invite our other speakers to join us. But I am hugely grateful that you are here with us, and hopefully you will continue watching the broadcast, and I will keep you updated by email, because you are going to join us as judge on both rounds. And so everyone who is watching here now, please be mindful of that. So Lord Clement Jones will be joining us as judge, and he will be watching all of your pitches, and I know you are looking forward to that. Thank you so much. It was amazing to have you live. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so without further ado, I am going to ask my incredible team. So Sara, you are in charge. So we have got 5 challenges that we will be showing to you. They have all been pre-recorded by our incredible speakers. And I will briefly tell you who they are. So one of the speakers you will hear from today is Rodolfo Lissia, who has got a master's in environmental science from Imperial College London, and he's very passionate about climate change. He and I are also working on a documentary film, which we will not be discussing today, but he is very passionate about climate, and I asked him to present that challenge. Another incredible speaker we have today is Mandy Sanghera, who is a human rights activist. And Mandy and I have known each other for a long time. She has spoken Harvard University and United Nations and EU, and she's really passionate about the challenge that she will be presenting to you, which is vulnerable groups. So how can we help the groups who are at risk at the moment? We also have Girish Menon. We're so happy to have him on board. He is the CEO of ActionAid, and as you know, ActionAid is doing phenomenal work at the moment in so many different communities across the world, and the challenge he will be presenting to you is empowerment. And we also have Ganesh, who is tuning in from WHO and UNITAID. So he has had comms approval to speak at this event, although he will not be covering and talking about the work WHO is doing at the moment. But I've asked him to present Health and Wellness Challenge, particularly focusing on mental health. So, and last but not least will be Victoria, who you may have seen already in some of the hackathons as well. She was the one who inspired me to do the work I'm doing right now, and I've asked her to do 2 things during this hackathon. One is to present the challenge, and another one is to keep her little sibling brother entertained. So she's upstairs playing with him. So no guarantee that we won't be interrupted by this very lively 6-year-old boy at some point in time, but you will hear those incredible 5 speakers now. So Sara, whenever you're ready, please do show us what the speakers have had to say and their pre-recorded talks. I hope you will enjoy them as much as I have. And we will, by the way, take some questions afterwards. Sara, what have we got?
We are going to start putting the videos now. And just as a quick reminder, if you have any questions, put them in the comment section, and we will be answering them with the speakers later on. So rolling on to the first one.
Hi everybody, it's Mandy Sanghera here from the UK. I'm really honoured to be supporting the Global Hackathon with Elena again, and it's a great honour to be talking about some of the work that I've been doing globally around the UN Sustainable Development Goal number 10, which is about tackling inequalities. It's really important now, as we are in the midst of a global pandemic of COVID-19. I'm going to be talking about vulnerable groups. I'm going to be looking at the message around how do we support people who are most at risk, and how we tackle social isolation and help people's mental health and well-being, and also how can we better upskill frontline first responders around supporting the most vulnerable as we are right now. So as the challenge is, it's about how do we best support the
Sarah,
most
can you hear me?
vulnerable. And when we talk about the group vulnerable, we're talking about people with disabilities, older people, people with underlying health problems who are most at risk from COVID-19. So that is the group that we're talking about at the moment. Also, I'm looking at people from the BME community, which is the Black and Ethnic Minority community, who seem to be hit hard, even though we're saying that this is an equaliser and this disease does not discriminate. But we have seen that actually it does discriminate, because actually some of the deaf around the world have been people from different backgrounds. So there's been different theories around people's lifestyle choices, people's diet, people living together, extended families, cultural, economic, social, all of those inequalities that have been a real issue that we've been trying to tackle for years have now come to the forefront. I also live in the UK, where we have healthcare which is free and we are able to have the right support. But I also know that there are an awful lot of people around the world that can't have access to medication. They don't have access to water. They don't have an education. They don't have the same rights and life choices that we have been given. And all of those things have been contributing factors. There's been an awful lot of older people who have become very isolated, who were already isolated and were already a vulnerable group. However, they were able to join different groups, they were able to keep in touch with people, go to their local shops. All of those things now have come to a full stop for those people. So one of the challenges is how do we engage and how do we support the most vulnerable to be able to keep in touch or actually access and get the basics that they require? How do we do that? That could be a challenge. Also, as we know, that there's an awful lot of people with disabilities who are fairly independent, but sometimes it's the other circumstances around them that they can't access that actually become a contributing factor. For instance, if somebody has a visual impairment, they use their sense of touch more to get around and feel and buy things. But if they cannot touch and not go out as much, how do they do that? People with underlying health conditions who may be a diabetic and other things, and asthma and things like that, normally can live a very independent life. However, this illness has really caused a lot of other factors to them. So how can they continue to promote their well-being? We also recognise that mental health affects 1 in 4 people. And actually, this is now having a real impact on most normal people who were mentally quite strong and emotionally intelligent, had a lot going for them in their lives. But actually, we're seeing a real increase in people's well-being, emotional health and mental well-being. So we need to look at how do we address that. Also, I do a lot of work around violence against women. But in recent weeks, we've seen a real spike in violence against women around the world and men. We know that violence doesn't discriminate, and there's been an awful lot of victims who have been victims of abuse and violence. And how do we support that vulnerable group as well? So where people can't leave the home and they're in a home in a situation with somebody very controlling and manipulating that person, and they don't know where to go for support. So we need to look at what else can we do to try and support that most vulnerable group as well. One of the other challenges that we have found is that actually frontline staff, there's been a lot of volunteers, a lot of people who are supporting the communities to keep it going, looking at supporting people. But there has been a spike where people are worried about the care help that comes in to support you with your medication, help you get washed and dressed if you're vulnerable. But you're worried about somebody coming in and being affected and bringing that virus into your home, or if you're affected by this and you are positive and then your carer goes off to another person, then they're becoming a carrier. I know that there's lots of tests and things being done to capture that. However, there are a lot of fear. How do we tackle all the fake stories that are out there? How do we tackle the fake news and the stories and all the WhatsApp messages and social media posters posting a lot of fear to people? How do we tackle all of that? That would be great. It is so important that, when we look at the domestic violence, normally people will not ask for help for at least 30 odd times before. And also there are children who are no longer at school, who are also experiencing a lot of emotional abuse at home, and those children are also vulnerable. We need to look at that, and we need to sort of address those real issues about people who are ordinary, vulnerable all the time anyway, because of their circumstances of where they live and the support that they require. And if they are not able to get that support, so where a school is a safe place, a nursery is a safe place, a teacher is a safe person who you can ask for help, but you're no longer at school, I am really concerned about how do we do that with young people? How do we keep young people safe? Also, there are other risks about young people using the social media. It's fantastic to use, and I'm using it as we speak today. However, it's about how do we stay safe online? How do we stop people being exploited? How do we stop all the scams and schemes? So if you're vulnerable at home, an older person or a person with a disability, and somebody tries to sell you something or tries to exploit you financially or try and come into your home and befriend you, how do we keep you safe? So, you know, this is a very difficult time for everyone around the world. But we also know that there's been some great work that has been done. There's been some great, amazing human beings and individuals who have really stepped up to support neighbours, and it's brought a lot of kindness out. At the same time, there has been the other side of the pandemic, where people are using it as an opportunity to sell things, exploit people, where people are not able to go out to the stores and people are selling things to them online. People are giving out their credit card details and bank card details to people, and they are also being exploited. So it's about how do we stay safe online as well? How do we tackle the inequalities of like healthcare and all the other social economic factors that are contributing to that? How do we address the issue around supporting the person that may be feeling more emotionally anxious and distressed about this, and it's having a negative impact on their mental health and well-being? What support can we offer to those? How do we support the most at risk, whether that's a person suffering from abuse or violence, or a young person not feeling safe at home or in the company of the adult that they're being put to look after them? So what else can we do to keep those people safe? How can we support the frontline support staff as well? There's a lot in this about vulnerable, and the umbrella is a really big word, and vulnerable, because anyone, even sometimes I'm feeling quite vulnerable because I'm quite anxious about this illness, but I can get through it because I'm mentally quite strong and I'm watching a lot of positive stuff. And it's really, really important that we look at some of the great good work that has been done globally, and we want young people to support other young people. Let's share our knowledge and our expertise. Let's share our ideas. Let's come together and tackle this together. We have 17 goals to achieve, and they're all intertwined in some way. And I think more than ever, this has really shown us that actually anyone can be affected, and we need to look at how do we tackle these global pandemics again in the future? How do we get the next generation involved in tackling COVID and all the other things with tech and AI? I'm really looking forward to your ideas and solutions and challenges, what you come up with. And I wish you all a fantastic hackathon, and I hope you're going to have a great time. I'm really looking forward to seeing what this team comes up with. Thank you.
Talks have been played. So Rodolfo has a background in climate and environment, and he has got a challenge that he's presenting to you. And this is an important one for you to think about. And obviously you will all have been inspired by the movement of teen climate activist Greta Thunberg. and we really do hope that you will have a chance to explore this challenge. And if you're brave, tweet at her and tell her that you are tackling this challenge, and maybe she will respond. I don't know, but this is one I'm really passionate about, and I believe many of you should be concerned about how we can preserve the world we live in, particularly now in times of COVID. Seems to have gotten a little bit better for environment, but how can we take better of it moving forward? So do enjoy Rodolfo's talk now. Sarah, if you're ready.
Good morning,
Brilliant.
everybody. I'm Rodolfo Lissia, and I'm here to present you the COVID-19 and the Environment Challenge. So, first of all, let me give you a face to the voice you're hearing right now. I'm Rodolfo Lissia again. I'm an innovation advisor at Mind the Bridge, and I completed my Master in Environmental Technology at Imperial College London. And before starting, let me tell you that all the slides that you see right now, you can have them later, so you can stop and have a look at them. I will go quickly through the presentation and try to inspire you. So, first of all, this talk will be about the present and the future. And let's start with the health of our planet, where we are at. Regarding the climate change, we all know we're in a bad position, and here are some of the 10 most important climate facts. We can resume by saying that the temperatures are rising and we need to take action soon. We are already seeing the effects that climate change is having on our environment. Unfortunately, the climate crisis is not the only problem. The planet should best seen as with the concept of planetary boundaries, with climate change being one of the most important issues, but actually there are others. And it's important to remember that our planet is a living ecosystem, and we should not see problematics as just one part of the problem. That means that reducing CO2 is not enough. We need to do more to support the environment. And it's in this situation that COVID-19 and the virus, the pandemic, come into play. And the relation between the COVID-19 and the natural environment have already been shown. For example, we can see how the spread of COVID-19 could be attributed to the deforestation we are having, to the massive deforestation we are having in many different environments, natural environments. And at the same time, we can see how air pollution could be a key contributor to the deaths we're unfortunately seeing, because air pollution affects the lungs of people and make them more easily prey of the virus. So what I'm saying here is that through the COVID-19 we can better understand the relationship within our system and the environment, or better, the dysfunctional relationship that unfortunately we have at the moment. We can see here the example of lithium batteries, the one that are inside your phones. And we can see very specifically how different countries and regions of the world are all linked. And in case of a pandemic, if there is a problem in the transport, then the whole system is going to shut down. And so we also seen how the COVID-19 has affected the pollution levels in our cities. That's because we had to stop our activities, and this had a direct and immediate repercussion on the pollution levels. And so COVID-19 has stalled pollution and emissions, but the real question is, how do we prevent it to bounce back? Well, we need to flatten the climate curve too. As we're doing with the virus, we need to take immediate and protective measures for the environment, for climate change, in order to avoid worse consequences in the future. And the future actually can be very different depending on the choices we take. So what are the possibilities? What can we do now? Well, a suggestion would be to live local and grow communities. As we're seeing now, humans have adapted to be local, and they've learned the importance of community, of being together. So any solution that could help, for example, to share skills, to share time, or to share resources with your neighbors, this is something that will be great influential and very important for the creation of resilient communities and a resilient society, which is of course less consumistic, less based on consumption, more on necessary things. We can go digital. So any solution that would help us move our activities that require a lot of efforts, a lot of transports, a lot of energy, and move them into a digital space, living locally, that would be a first step towards achieving a sustainable environment. An idea that I like to apply here, for example, is the one of circular economy, the idea of reusing the resources from one industry, from one sector to another, and being able to connect these players, which is something that is not happening, unfortunately. This could be a very powerful idea for a sustainable future. So we need to remember that also digital technologies have an impact, of course, on the environment. So any solution that could help make that more efficient, reduce, for example, the consumption of electrical components, would be a first step, again, towards a greener future. We could create smart and resilient cities. So all the icons you see here, they are important aspects that are present in our everyday lives that we could move into a more connected and more digital world. So I would be happy to go into each one of them. But for example, if we take smart health, we could create telemedicine solutions where doctors can visit patients being a distant, multiple patients, without moving from their house. We could create smart mobility solutions where people are able to share their transportation. They are able to access a better public transport, which is more efficient and can understand where people need to go. We could design smart homes, which are able to understand when appliances have been used or are not being used, and then can cut electricity and cut waste. Or solution that can take energy from one appliance and move it to another and help thus people to share the energy they're using. We can again help people to reduce waste and inefficiencies. So this could be either through education or by creating again platforms that help people to understand how to reuse the components they have. And that could be anything. It's anything that could be very, very useful and very positive. So just to conclude, the COVID-19 pandemic has shown us that the environment in which we are is strictly connected to our way of living. And it's proving us that a cleaner and a different future is possible. And it's just in our hands to act for it. So let me conclude with a quote that I found in the internet during this pandemic, and I think it perfectly represents the situation we're at. And that says, we cannot go back to normal because the normal we had was precisely the problem. And you can help change the problem and create a new future. You are the future. So thank you very much, and good luck with your work, and I'm sure you're going to have a lot of fun saving the world. Bye-bye.
Sorry, you're frozen. I think it might be good to ask the other speakers. Introduce Victoria. Okay. Okay.
Hi.
Am I live?
Hi, my name is Victoria and I'm an ambassador at Season AI, here to talk to you about the Education Challenge, which is how might we improve the quality and experience of online education during the COVID-19 outbreak. I'm a fellow student in my final year of compulsory education, and since schools closed and lessons have been moved online, I seem to be lacking the motivation to keep up my learning schedule. And after reading the survey answers you all wrote when signing up to this hackathon, it's clear that I'm not the only student feeling this way. Adapting to a new learning structure so quickly has proven to be something not everyone has done.
Screen is frozen at the moment. So the next video you will be hearing is a presenter Victoria, who will be speaking about education. So as all of you, or most of you, are still in school or university, you will be experiencing that problem firsthand. And so we felt it made sense to include that as a challenge. And really, the reason why I started Acorn Aspirations in the first place was to disrupt education as a system. And I felt there was a need to do some things differently. And so COVID, as anything really, has demonstrated that the need to reinvent and disrupt education has never been more urgent. You all are stuck in your homes. And it's just phenomenal to see how a crisis like COVID can really impact lives. And most importantly, how it has really had an impact on education and the difficulties teachers are experiencing,
I'm
but
Girish
also you
Menon.
as students.
I'm the Chief Executive
and so the
of
next
ActionAid
speaker
UK,
is
based in
Victoria,
London.
who is
ActionAid
our
is an international
in AI ambassador, and my daughter as well. She has got a second role today, a very important one over the next days, to keep her little brother occupied. So she won't be joining live, but listen to what she has to say. I haven't heard it myself, but I hope whatever she has to say makes sense, and hopefully you will be inspired to tackle education as one of the challenges. And I've seen a lot of discussion already in Discord, how frustrated you all are. Now is an opportunity for you to really do this. Hello. Oh, okay. So the next speaker is going to present education as a challenge. And Sara, whenever you are ready, let's go with that.
Yes. ¿Quieres que yo me ponga aquí y antes de que cuando te avise? I don't know what's going on.
Hi, my name is Victoria and I'm an ambassador at Season AI, here to talk to you about the education challenge, which is how might we improve the quality and experience of online education during the COVID-19 outbreak. I'm a fellow student in my final year of compulsory education, and since schools closed and lessons have been moved online, I seem to be lacking the motivation to keep up my learning schedule. And after reading the survey answers you all wrote when signing up to this hackathon, it's clear that I'm not the only student feeling this way. Adapting to a new learning structure so quickly has proven to be something not everyone has done as easily as others. A massive social wall has been built, as it is now harder to communicate with teachers and classmates, which is a large part of classroom education. Not only this, but some of us may find it really difficult to concentrate and stay motivated when there are so many distractions in our home, like mobile phones, annoying siblings, and nagging parents. We don't know how long this pandemic will continue to.
We wanted to ask you to present your challenge live, if that's okay. I hope that's not putting you on spot, but no doubt you're used to doing that all the time in your roles. Ganesh, you have had the most incredible experience and career in so many international organizations. So profile, it's just quite incredible what you have seen and the number of countries you've been to. It's absolutely incredible to have you live with us today, not only as somebody who represents the Untitled WHO, but really someone who has got so much knowledge of what's really happening at the moment in the space of health and well-being across all of these international organizations, not only WHO. And I know the one topic you're particularly passionate about is mental health, and something I really hope young people will attempt to tackle over the next 9 days. So here is, offering the floor to you. Please do present your challenge live while sorting out some of the other. Thank you so much for joining us, and I hope you're well and your family is as well. And it's a great connection, by the way, because we don't forget that Sara and I have stayed in your family home in Geneva when we had to do this launch of Teens in AI. So it's great to have you finally join us as a speaker.
Hi, Elena. Good morning. Thank you very much. Hi, Sara. Yes, it's a wonderful pleasure for me to be here, and I'm really excited to launch this challenge. Thanks to Elena for your kind words. The challenge I will be launching to everyone is around health and wellness. As Elena mentioned, this is something very closer to me, closer to my heart, and it's something which every one of us are going through. I would like to start with some personal experiences. As Elena mentioned, some of the challenges I had gone through in my career in early years, and how that has changed with technology being good, tech for good in today's world, and how technology has really helped during the COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic period. To start with, I would like to start my experience from Afghanistan, where I worked in 2002-2003, just after the civil war. The country's healthcare system was quite paralyzed, and in fact, I could even say those times that it didn't exist in some parts of Afghanistan. What we were doing as international organizations were able to work with the local healthcare system and able to revive the whole process and bring in healthcare experts from other countries, and also able to bring in some technology transfer from other developing and developed countries. Those days, we didn't have cell phone, or we had cell phones, but those were more analog, no smartphones. And the only survivor, I remember those days, was satellite phones. And we get the opportunity to send and receive emails either in the morning, first thing in the morning, and in the evening before we go to bed. The second point of interaction with the global world used to be something called World Space. It was a World Space radio where you can tune in to BBC News in the morning and in the evening. And some days it could happen that the weather was not good. There was some interventions taking place. The World Space decided not to work. So we had to cope up with interacting amongst our own colleagues. We were living in a compound and we had to live with it. But one thing which was interesting and which were able to help us to overcome some of our mental health challenges those days were we were able to meet community. We were able to interact with the local people. We were able to get invited to their houses to have a meal during that time, which was our only entertainment or only way to come out of our stress or come out of our challenges, what we are facing on a day-to-day basis, where systems, security concerns, and also not able to get things done in a more organized manner. But those able to spend time with the local community, able to interact face-to-face, really made a big difference for us to overcome some of those challenges. You might wonder, why am I comparing to Afghanistan and today's situation? So I want to come into today's context. Yes, we are going through this pandemic period. Our healthcare workers are quite stretched, or we can call it as a frontline warriors. But during this time, we are not able to do something what we were able to do then, which is around able to interact with people more freely, more able to experience what challenges they are going through. And we are heavily reliant on technology right now. We are calling this process as social distancing, but actually I would call it as is a more of physical distancing, but more socially connected. Socially connected is really critical, especially during this time of period. The current pandemic is affecting the overall health systems, and both in terms of people and also in terms of organization, to look at how do we overcome these challenges, especially both in terms of putting pressure on the healthcare system and people, and also it is leading us to a lot of negative impacts around our mental health. Sudden change in circumstances, for example, losing your loved ones, whether it has to do with the healthcare workers or any people, losing a job, having an environmental challenge, stuck inside the house, and even the other political issues what we are hearing through. And as I mentioned that, technology has been a great savior, but also technology, too much information is also not helpful. You tune into the television, you look at your phone, you get updates about people losing their lives, some of the strains what people are going through with this issue. It has a greater impact on us. The physical impact or physical health challenges are very visible. We can understand what people are going through if somebody went with an accident or something takes place. But then the mental health challenges are not visible. It's very invisible and stays with us for a very, very, very long time. And during this period, I would like to say something which really struck me on various contexts is around resilience. Human beings are generally resilient. Resilience can be strengthened by the speed of our response during the adversity. It's also important that we can build resilience over time by changing how we overcome negative events. I would like to share a personal story and an experience around resilience, which inspired me, and this person keeps inspiring me on a daily basis. That's my 5-year-old daughter. As Elena mentioned, that I travel a lot for my work, and I'm currently based in Geneva. Fortunately, I managed to come home before the COVID situation. So I mentioned to my daughter that I will be spending here and I will not be traveling to Elena, can you hear me? Hello? I think, Elena, you are mute. You're on mute.
So Ganesh, we seem to be experiencing some sound issues. I'm just going to check with Sara whether we are okay to go ahead.
Okay.
Because Sara is having some issues with the sound. Just pause for a moment.
Okay.
And hold your... I just want to check with the community whether they can hear us, because I want to make sure they do listen.
Absolutely. Yeah, no worries.
Message. Okay, so they are saying they can hear me. Fantastic. So Ganesh, you carry on. I just want to check because I got a message from Sara that they may not hear what you're saying. So repeat the last couple of minutes of what you've said, and let's just carry on. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I was talking about resilience. Resilience is something, resilience is a strength and the speed of our response to adversity. We can build resilience over time by changing how we overcome negative events. One person who inspires me on a daily basis is my daughter, 5-year-old daughter. As Elena mentioned, that I travel a lot for my work, and currently I'm based in Geneva. Fortunately, I was able to come home before the borders started closing down and the flights were running. So I'm in London right now. So when I was back in London, I was telling my daughter that for the next few weeks, I'll be working from home. She was really excited. And she said, oh, we can have our pillow fights. We can have our roly-polies. I said, absolutely. And then a few minutes later, she said, Papa, can we pack our bags as a family to go on a holiday where there is no coronavirus? And I said to her, unfortunately, coronavirus is there everywhere. And the second thing is, if we go somewhere, it could happen that we might take the virus with us and give it to other people, which is not good. And then I looked at her face and she was quite silent and sad. And she said, so we can't go for a holiday. I said, yes, we can't go for a holiday. Days passed by. 2 days later, she came to me and said, what about, can we order some space suits via online? I said, what do you mean by space suits? Yes, we can have a space suit and we can order a spacecraft and we can go to the space. And I can tell you there is no coronavirus in space and we can have a good party over there. I was really, surprised and happy to see the resilience in terms of how she was able to look at the current situation where she has been in home, doing the homeschooling, spending her time in our small garden and running around inside the house. At the same time, able to think something positive, able to look at something going forward. So I'm sharing this. This story is kind of at the time of when we are going through this challenge, looking at some of the mental health issues, how do we look positive? How do we able to come out of those negative thoughts and able to look forward for a greater future? On the same note, there are a couple of other stories. I'm sure you all would have seen it, and I would like to touch upon and then hand over and challenge you to come up with some innovative solutions or applications, how this could help others. Recently, and this incident touched me quite deeply. I saw an article or a video in CNN recently where a young doctor, I think it was in New York State, and she was working in a hospital treating patients infected by the virus. While she was working in the ICU, she developed or she contracted the virus, and she was struggling for 5 days. And towards the end, she realized her body is going to give up. And she has a 5-year-old daughter. And fortunately, she was able to record a video message for her loved one, and explaining her what she's going through and how much she cares for her, how much she loved her, and why it is important. Her job was to save others, and she would like her daughter to become another doctor. So the story was really touching me, especially in terms of our frontline workers or our frontline warriors, the doctors and healthcare workers who are sacrificing so much and trying to save life. And in that process, leaving us inspired for the next generation of healthcare workers coming in and able to look for a solution and able to support us. So it's really important in looking at how we can leave the positive aspect of it. The second one I saw is around some doctors, I think it was in India, where when they were entering the ICU wards in fully suited PPE suit, they felt the patients were not able to see their face, or they feel like it's important the patients are able to see their smiley face, whereby that gives them more confidence, that gives them the human interaction. So they started sticking their smiley faces, pictures of them in their bodysuits, in different postures, and that brought them some level of hope, some level of happiness. And these are some of those ways how we can create positivity and able to move forward. The last part I would like to say is resilience can be strengthened by expanding the gratitude for the good things in our life. And this is something really important, something while we are going through so many negative issues and negative challenges, and it's affecting us on a day-to-day basis, I would like to challenge each one of you to look at ways how technology could help us to bring in that positive spirit, able to help us to overcome some of those challenges through innovative apps, innovative solutions, innovative tools, both to the frontline workers who are spending their time in the ICUs and providing care to the people, and also to each one of us as we are spending time with our families, going through educational crisis, and going through job losses, and also inspire us to see how we can build tomorrow. This is going to be with us for a very long time. So it's important to start looking at how we are going to cope up with the so-called the new normal or the new tomorrow, move forward. So I hereby wishing you good luck, and I know that each one of you are amazing in the areas where you have come from. You have got amazing ideas, and I'm really looking forward to hear from you, and I'll be available throughout the next 2 weeks. And if you have got any questions, if you want any experiences or any stories or any other ways I could help you to come up with innovative solutions, it's my pleasure. And very good luck, and I'm really looking forward to hear more from you. Thanks, Elena. Over to you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Ganesh. That was incredible. Thank you so much for joining us. And Ganesh, I know you and I both share this passion for traveling and passion for changing the world. So it was amazing to have you. So my original background is in war studies. So there is always a lot of affinity with people who travel and do incredible work. So thank you.
And also, Elena, we also have a same connection. I have spent some time in your home country, Uzbekistan.
Exactly. You're one of the few people I actually know who's been to Uzbekistan, and not just been to Uzbekistan, but actually worked there. So
yeah, absolutely.
it's fantastic to meet somebody who can remind me and just tell me about my own country, because I haven't been back in 15 years, but hoping to be back soon. So a lot of things have changed, but those kind of stories are always heartwarming. Thank you so much for joining us, and I hope you stay well. So I know we will stay in touch in the meantime, but I do know that Girish is also on the call. But Girish, we are going to try and play your video. Sara, do we have the video ready, or shall we? Tell me. I think, Sara, you're on mute. If you could just briefly tell me whether we've got Girish's video that we can show.
I am the Chief Executive of ActionAid UK, based in London.
Hi, everybody.
Hello, I'm Girish Menon. I am Chief Executive of ActionAid UK, based in London. ActionAid is an international organization working across 40 countries in Africa, Asia, and Latin America. We work with women and girls living in poverty in the global south and support them in realizing their rights. I'm delighted to be here today in your midst. Teens in AI, what an amazing concept. What I'm really inspired by is the thinking behind increasing the diversity and inclusion in AI. And I'm quite conscious of the fact that there are participants from 40 cities around the world. So it's truly going to be an amazing event. And I know there's an amazing lineup of speakers and mentors and experts.
Fantastic. So we're back, and Girish, we are coming on to you now. So if you could please unmute yourself and show us the video. Hi, Girish. How are you? Thank you for joining us.
I'm fine. Thank you very much, Elena. Thank you, Sara. And it was wonderful listening to my old friend Ganesh as well. So some really interesting ideas. Thank you for the invitation.
Hi. Thank you. So good news, Girish. We cannot show your video just yet. We do have it, so we will still upload it. But we seem to be having some technical issues which are, common during the live stream. So the great news is that we're also going to put you on the spot, and we are going to ask you to give it to us and inspire our young people and introduce this challenge, that something that is close to my heart and I'm most passionate about. Which is empowerment and empowering so many different groups and communities across the world. And I know this is something you're passionate about, and you do this all the time, every day and please tell us about it. Tell us a little bit about yourself and give it to us so that young people can hear you live. And I think that would be fantastic and inspiring for them to hear. Thank you for joining. It's all yours.
Sure. Thank you very much. And thank you, everybody, for having me on this amazing initiative. I'm Girish Menon. I'm the Chief Executive of an organization called ActionAid UK. I'm based in London. ActionAid UK works with women and girls living in poverty in the global south across Africa, Asia, and Latin American countries. We are almost 50 years old. And we strongly believe in human rights, and therefore the theme of empowerment, as Elena introduced, is very, very close to my heart, something that I've been working for over 3 decades now. So, but before I actually launch the challenge, I just wanted to say what an amazing concept this is, teens in AI. And what I was really inspired by was the vision that was expressed for the teens in AI, which is to increase diversity and inclusion in artificial intelligence. And that is so well represented by the fact that you are there across 40 countries, participants from different parts of the world, from different cultures, different educational systems, different value systems, political beliefs, all of that. And that's really important in democratizing artificial intelligence. So here is wishing all the participants absolutely great luck. But trust me, I have no idea about anything to do with AI. I'm no expert on artificial intelligence at all. But of course, the good news is that there are a number of smart and sharp minds out there And I'm sure that through all the challenges that are introduced to you, there'll be a lot of stimulative, creative, and constructive ideas going ahead as we navigate through this very, very difficult phase. So once again, to remind you, the theme that I'm going to talk about and introduce is empowerment. How can we rapidly inform and empower communities so that they are able to stay safe and healthy during the COVID-19 crisis? So one thing that I'm sure you would have heard a lot about is we are in it together. Because this is affecting the whole world. As Ganesh said, there is no part in the world that is unaffected or untouched by the coronavirus crisis. But is that really true? And that's a challenge I'd like to pose. Yes, at one level, it's true because it's impacting on the rich countries and the poor countries. It's impacting on men and women. It's impacting on urban and rural areas. It's impacting every single part of is that it has a disproportionate impact on women and girls. And that is coming out constantly because on a regular basis now, over the last 7 to 8 weeks, we're getting reports from the communities across the 40 countries that we work in, and the story is just the same. In all humanitarian crises in the past, we have seen that it's the same story, but worse when it comes to the global pandemic right now. Why should that be the case? So let's look at it from three different angles based on the stories that we're hearing. The first is on violence against women and girls. We are finding a very sharp increase in cases of violence against women and girls. Partly it's because of the fact that people are now spending more and more time in confined spaces. 1 in 3 women would have experienced some form of violence in their lives, in their lifetime, and invariably it's at the hands of somebody known close to them, even a family member. So when you have situations where women and girls now have to spend more time indoors because of the lockdown and other conditions, chances are that people are spending more time in these secluded spaces at a time when there's a lot of stress and therefore heightened possibility of abuse. Mind you, we are seeing that in the UK as well. In the UK, we have seen a 30% increase in cases of violence against women and girls, and that's a saying that we are hearing across the world. So that's the first issue, violence against women and girls. The second is about increase in caring responsibilities. When the coronavirus strikes, when there are illnesses in the family, invariably the burden of caring falls on women and girls. That's been traditionally true across almost all cultures in the world. It's worse so when it comes here because sometimes you not only have women who are first line responders as carers and nurses in the health systems in the respective countries, but once they come home, they have the same responsibilities at home, which is unrecognized and of course unpaid, but it's a huge burden. So that's the increase in the caring responsibilities. And the third is that with the lockdown and with the impact it is having on businesses, with the impact it's having on our mobility, what's also happening is there is a loss of jobs. Shops are closing down, restaurants have closed down, markets are not there. So invariably people who depend on these kinds of sources of income, i.e. vegetable vending, domestic help, cleaning, all these kind of occupations, they suddenly find that they don't have any work. Invariably, they all come from what's called the unorganized sector. The unorganized sector are people who don't have a formal employment contract. So you wouldn't have a pension contribution, you wouldn't have a medical insurance, you don't have anything to support you if you don't have a job. If you go work, you earn, otherwise there is nothing in there. So that creates a huge risk to anybody in the unorganized sector. Now, who is there in the unorganized sector? 2/3 of the people, or 65% of people working in the unorganized sector are women. And they're invariably women who are either illiterate or have very low levels of education and therefore have very little access to any support mechanisms. So that's the third impact, reduction in employment opportunities. So those are the three key challenges that we see from across the world. And it doesn't matter which country we're talking of, it's pretty much the same story. The intensity might be different here or there. So once again, to remind you, number one, increase in violence against women and girls. Number two, increased in caring responsibilities because of illnesses or fetching water, cooking for more people at home. And third is loss of jobs and therefore loss of income. Now, to bring this to life, I've got three very brief cases from three different countries that have been reported from ActionAid colleagues worldwide. The first one is from Bangladesh, and this is from my colleague Farah Kabir, who heads our Bangladesh country program. With cases of COVID-19 now confirmed in Cox's Bazar, there's a huge risk to the hundreds of thousands of people living in the town's Rohingya refugee camp. So Cox's Bazar is a massive resettlement colony for the people from the Rohingya community who have been persecuted in Myanmar and have crossed the border to come into Bangladesh. And there are 800,000 people living in this very densely populated Rohingya settlement in Cox's Bazar with very little facilities. So that's what Farah is talking about. She goes on to say, support for Rohingya women and girls facing an increased risk of violence is now more critical than ever. Rohingya women and girls are already marginalized in their camp community, and many face domestic violence on a daily basis. But the increased stress, economic worries, and forced coexistence caused by the risk of COVID-19 is resulting in even more abuse. So that's from Bangladesh. My colleague Lakshmi Subramani, who heads the ActionAid program in Liberia, has this to say. We are building on lessons learned during the Ebola crisis, when there was a dramatic increase in violence against women and girls as the police were unable to respond, support services were reduced, and survivors were left unable to access justice. We are calling on the government to ensure that access to justice and women's protection are central to all national response plans. So that's the case from Liberia. And the final case is from Kenya. And this is what my colleague McKenna Mobubia, who's ActionAid's country director in Kenya, has to say. ActionAid Kenya is calling on the government to ensure guaranteed paid sick leave is available to all workers, both in the formal and informal sectors, and that people living in the informal settlements will have access to free, clean drinking water and health facilities staffed by skilled professionals. Information can save lives. We have been working with the government on public awareness materials and ensuring they are read, heard, and understood by communities across the nation. So those are three simple case studies as we try to work with these communities, not just to prevent and reduce the spread of the virus, but also try and mitigate the long-term impacts on these communities, because these impacts are going to be long and deep and will be felt by them for a very long time to come. So friends, good luck with cracking this challenge. This is on empowerment. So hopefully this has given you some insight on what those challenges might be and how can you use your creativity and your innovative thinking with the help of AI to crack it and make the world better for women and girls. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
All right, fantastic. And last but not least, we have got the last challenge. But Girish, I'm so grateful that you have joined us, and that was really, really fantastic to hear live from you. And you have also mentioned some of the areas that I have been to. So I've lived in Bangladesh for a little bit. We were then doing some work for UNDP, and it was 2008. When, if you remember, the government orchestrated this man-made famine. Do you remember that?
Yes, exactly.
2008, I was right in the middle of this, and I couldn't bear to see the communities and villages burnt just because that one population, that Christian population living in Chittagong Hill Tracts, they wanted to really get rid of them. It was very sad. And what was really sad is that the world didn't know about it. It was
Yeah.
not something that anyone even knew about. We were in the middle of all of this, and there was really very little I could do to make any difference. But thank you for bringing up, the country that I really, really wanted to make an impact, but I couldn't really do much because it really wasn't in my power to do so. But thank you for joining us live, and that was amazing. So we are now going to go with the last challenge, and then the exciting stuff will happen when everyone will go back to their Discord channel and ideate, create, and do please keep in touch and keep an eye on what will be happening in these broadcasts, and I will send you an email and an update. Thank you so much, Girish.
Thank you very much, Elena. Thanks.
All right, so everyone, let me just check with Sara. Sara, are you happy for me to show the video of my screen? We are going to do something that is a faux pas during the live stream, but we're going to risk it because we are struggling with some of the uploads. So I am going to share my screen in a moment and show you the very last video, which is going to be on education. So bear with me just for a minute. Okay, so, all right, and Sara, tell me, I hope this works.
Hi, my name is Victoria and I'm an ambassador at CBE here to talk to you about education, which is how might we improve the quality and experience of online education during the COVID-19 outbreak. I'm a fellow student in my final year of compulsory education, and since schools closed and lessons are being moved online, I seem to be lacking the motivation to keep up my learning schedule. And after reading the survey answers you all wrote when signing up to this hackathon, it's clear that I'm not the only student feeling this way. Adapting to a new learning structure so quickly has proven to be something not everyone has done as easily as others. A massive social wall has been built, as it is now harder to communicate with teachers and classmates, which is a large part of classroom education. Not only this, but some of us may find it really difficult to concentrate and stay motivated when there are so many distractions in our home, like mobile phones, annoying siblings, and nagging parents. We don't know how long this pandemic will continue to affect us, and we have no idea what the world after COVID-19 will look like. What we do know is education as it is dysfunctional, and it hasn't changed as a system in over 150 years. And this could be an opportunity to change it for the better. I believe we as a collective and community of students who are experiencing these issues firsthand are in a very good position to come up with some innovative solutions and hopefully improve our experiences of online education. Yeah.
Okay, so Sara, did that show at all? Perfect. So, so I really do hope that that was loud and clear. And obviously, the nagging parent that Victoria mentioned must have been me. So I didn't really hear her her talk before. So. Next up, then, it's a great pleasure to end the challenges and to introduce you to Eddie. And I know Eddie is already on the call, and let me invite Eddie in, because it would be fantastic to have now Eddie speak live, and let's hope that works. Eddie, welcome.
Good morning, how are you?
I am very well, and how are you?
I'm very well. I've got the beach with me today.
Oh my goodness. I am very jealous. What a great background. Fantastic. So
I also have a coconut that comes it's a pineapple that comes from the tree. There you go. Just so that everyone can get something special.
All very equipped. Fantastic. Okay, so Eddie, so we've just had the challenges introduced by all 5 speakers. I thought they were all amazing, and we have a lot of interesting ideas and some very interesting thoughts already in my mind. So I really wanted to see if there are any questions before we let you go ahead with design thinking session. So let me quickly double check with my team if anyone has any burning questions for Girish or anyone else on the call. Okay. So don't forget, all these videos are going to be available on our YouTube channel. So please subscribe. And I know the team behind the scenes, Sara and Elian and Med, they are working on creating a playlist for you. And so if for whatever reason you miss out on any of the challenges or anything that was happening from 9:30 a.m. this morning, or 9:34 rather, you will be able to watch them again on our YouTube channel. So please keep an eye on this. And we will have uploaded the quality, better quality that was sent to us by the speakers. So hopefully you will have the pre-recorded versions as well as what was happening this morning. So I don't seem to have many questions to take. Let me double check again on YouTube. And if there are no questions, we are going to go ahead with Eddie. So Eddie, just one more second. I want to make sure nobody has asked anything that we couldn't clarify. So even if you do have questions and you didn't have a chance to ask them, do please ask them in Discord, because what we will do is we will ask those questions to our panel of experts, and they will be able to respond. So we have a number of expert mentors in Discord channel, and they will become apparent to you when we start what will come next, which is the design thinking process. So Eddie, coming back to you again. So tell me, why is design thinking so important? Why should we even bother? Why do I keep hammering that this is important, and why do I want this to be part of every school curriculum? Tell me about it.
One of the big problems that people face is you hear a challenge and you go, oh, I've got a solution for that. And what you haven't done is you haven't been through the process of really analyzing it and getting into the space in your mind as to what's actually going on, and sort of find the root cause of that issue. And then how do you then take those steps? And they're quite simple steps, but these steps, and it's a process that you go through, and it's called iterative, which means you go around like this, around a loop, and you actually then understand much more about what's going on, and you use all that knowledge to bring this sort of prototyping and then testing, and so to build a much better solution. So we start with not the solution, that's the end point, that's the journey that we're about to go on.
Fantastic. So what's the plan then? What are you going to do? You have 3 hours with a lunch break. So we will have a lunch break at 12:30 for an hour. So what's the plan? What are you planning to do? Because the workshop is not going to be live. The workshop will be conducted in a closed environment in Discord. So you're going to be super busy running from one team to another, but you also have a fantastic team of design thinkers who will be supporting you. So we have about 4 teenagers in each team and 1 design thinker per team. It's going to be quite a big operation, something for you to manage, which I know you're going to do amazingly well. But what steps will you be taking everyone through, and what is the purpose behind this, and what should happen at the end of the 3rd hour? So after lunchtime, I know you'll have another hour. So what do you want to achieve by the end of the 3rd hour?
Okay, yeah, so we have an amazing set of team all supporting you throughout all the Discord channels and all your teams. Now, the slides that are in the important links in the Discord channel, you can now open, and we'll go through these slides. We'll start with just a few, and I'll explain how it works. And then in each of your teams, you'll then actually be able to go through them all by yourself. And so the timings are a rough guide. Each team will have slightly different timings. So don't worry too much about that. But by the end of the 3rd hour, which is roughly 3 o'clock our time in London, this is obviously London, yes, you will actually get to build a user journey map. And that will really help understand where you need to focus your ability to put AI as an actor into the human-centered process. So you'll have these actors that are part of your solution, and the AI will feed in and actually and so that the humans then can actually understand and actually use that data. That's the important bit, because when you're prototyping, you're just doing building little things to make sure they work, or that they're actually working as part of the overall solution. That's really important to know.
Okay, fantastic. So I'm not gonna make you wait any longer, because I know your hands are itchy and you want to get into it and dive into this whole process. So I have got Eddie, mute your Discord. Somebody is telling me, so please mute your Discord, because we have a lot of bips apparently live. Fantastic. All right, Sara, thank you so much for letting us know and for hosting this first live stream. So everyone, we would like to go back to Discord now. I'm going to ask you to go back to your teams. Say hi to your mentors, say hi to your design thinkers. Eddie will be there in Discord. And we are going to be back here after lunch, probably at around 3 o'clock. So please tune back in at 2:45 UK time. Get yourself ready, because we will have Alejandro Sosede, who will join us live. This is not a pre-recorded talk, so you don't want to miss it. We are going to take that risk. He will be live with us for half an hour talking about ethics and how to develop code responsibly. And it's really important that we do this today on a Saturday before you dive into looking into solutions. And straight after Eddie's talk, we will have Freddie from Element AI joining us to demystify what AI really can do and what it can't do. So he will do what we call an AI mythbuster, so that you have some clarity, and your tech mentors would do what is called a sanity check, whether you can really build what you want to build within the next 9 days, and how to help you the most. So go back to your Discord channel, and I will be seeing you in Discord, and I really can't wait to see what will happen over the next 3 hours. Good luck to you all. This is going to be a very, very busy process, very engaging. Make sure you work with your team, and yes, Sara, anything else I missed that you want to say?
So just to add, if anyone does have any questions to do with the challenges, please keep sending them either through the live chat or on Discord. We will be sending them to the people who created the challenges and get responses from them. And in addition to that, this stream will be ending now. However, we will send a new link into the Discord with the new stream for the evening session. It will continue to be on the same channel. However, it will just be the afternoon session rather than the morning session. That's all from me.
Fantastic. All right. So I'll see you back here at 2:45. Enjoy your sessions. Enjoy design thinking process. It's my most favorite process of all, because hopefully it will get you away from solutions mindset into human-centered design. Enjoy. See you soon.